it's love. You do put your love into the ice cream. Looking back, it was the best decision of my life.
Well. Here we are at another episode of the Ramos Law Difference Makers podcast, where I, your host, Dr. Jim Hoven, get a chance to meet with amazing people doing cool and wonderful things and making a difference every day. And today is going to be one of the sweetest, and I mean sweetest episodes that we have ever done in the 150 or 160 plus episodes, because today we're talking ice cream, and I love ice cream, Tom. Today I have with me as a guest Mr. Tom Kinney. He's the owner of an ice cream shop here in Denver called Magill's. We're going to talk all about it, but there's so much more to this episode, you guys, besides just the product of ice cream. It's the purpose. It's how the business is run. This is going to be a great episode. So if you love ice cream, stay tuned, listen, and share it. And if you don't love ice cream, but love business and love mission and love values, stick around, listen, because you're going to get a lot from this. So without any further delay, I want to welcome Tom to the show. Tom, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I got to tell you, I've been a huge fan of yours for many years without ever even knowing you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, my wife and I found Magill's many years ago. And the interesting thing about it for us is it has played a part in our lives that has varied. And so for those that have listening to, you and I talked about this offline as we were preparing. For those of you that have listened and followed the show for a while, we lost our son. It'll be 10 months ago, coming up here next week. And following that tragedy, the place we went to for our comfort food to help us, literally, it was therapeutic eating. And I don't recommend it as a diet, but we ate a lot of Magill's because we knew that there was a place where the atmosphere was so like home. The people working there, most of them young kids, were so friendly and wanting to serve. And then the ice cream itself it's different. It's so rich. It's so full of, it feels like it's made with love. And so it helped us deal. But prior to that, we would go there in beautiful summer nights as a way to anchor a great day, a great event, or a great summertime. So it has really played a role in our lives. So as we get started, this has been just a treat for me to have you, agree to take time out of your schedule to come talk about this. But tell us, first of all, how did you get into the world of ice cream?
Sure. Well, and, going back on your point, that's why we're there. Whenever I'm working in the store and all of a sudden we go up and make someone's day, it just makes it all worth it. So it's like right now in my career and my life, that's like the most important thing to my wife and myself and our family, is that we can give that to somebody. So it's something we try to do every single day. We make someone's day if they're having a horrible day, but especially in your situation, which is obviously a drastic situation, it's kind of our role, and that's one we like to do. So that's kind of what makes it still a happy part of the business.
Yes.
But yeah, I started at Magill's. You want my Magill story?
Please.
So I started there when I was 15. Which is, 25 and a half years ago.
And how did you find it? You lived in the neighborhood? You were looking for a 15-year-old job to make a little extra cash?
Yeah.
Or you knew someone there?
So I went to a private Christian school where my mom was one of the principals there.
Oh, what school?
It was called Christian Fellowship.
Okay, because I went to a school called Silver State Baptist.
Oh, yeah.
And graduated in 1985.
Okay,
So it would have been a little before.
Yeah.
A little before you, but not too much.
No, not too far.
Right. So, wow.
Yeah, that name rings a bell. So we probably played you guys in sports or something.
Yep.
But yeah, so I went to that school, and my best friend started working at Magill's when he was 15. And so, I'd been doing babysitting and dog walking and every job you can do.
All the cool stuff.
Yeah, all the cool stuff as you're a kid. Whoever will hire you and give you money, it was worth it.
Stuff.
Yeah. So he started working there, and, he's telling me about this great ice cream job. And so I joined with him. I applied and I got the job from the owners that bought it from the Magill. So there was a second owner that was running it at the time. And I started, there working with him, essentially more of a social thing to hang out with him and, some other friends. It was a very small operation. There was like 7 or 8 employees.
And was it in the same shop as it is now?
Yeah. So
same size too?
No,
okay.
Much smaller.
Okay.
Much like a third of the size.
Okay.
But that's where the Magill's opened in 81.
Got it.
But yeah, so I joined and started working there, and we messed around like 15-year-old kids would do, ate way too much ice cream. And, so I've been there ever since.
Wow. And so did you work there through, obviously through high school?
Yep.
Did you work there through college, or did you say, no, I know the business side. I'm not going to go necessarily to the official college education. I see where I'm wanting to go, or how did you now translate that from working there to now owning the place?
None of the above.
None of the above. Okay.
I was pretty much all through high school. I worked there just to have extra money. And then when I started college, I actually went to Metro State University.
Yes.
Metro State College back then. It's changed a lot. But I started there, and I was still working at Magill's. I did look for other opportunities at that point when I was going to college just to make more money. And my boss pretty much promoted me and said, we'd like you to start running the wholesale business and take over, a bigger role. So when I was 18 years old, I started running the wholesale department to a certain degree and the production team that we were starting to grow. And I went to school at Metro, and after 2 years in my sophomore year, my boss came to me and said that he had another opportunity and he was looking to sell the business. And it kind of fell into my lap.
And you're how old?
I was 20.
20 years
yes.
old.
And I don't recommend anybody buying or starting a business when you're 20. You will make so many mistakes that, the good thing is you learn from all those mistakes.
And you're young. You got time to recover.
You do have time to recover. But, just giving me the keys to a business when I was 20 years old was insanity.
Yeah.
But luckily, I've made every single mistake in the book. And by now, in my 40s, I've learned from all those mistakes.
Yes.
But yeah, so I bought into the business when I was 20 years old, and I pretty much thought of it as an opportunity to make my hours. To, I wasn't really even thinking about it as a career. It was more of just too good of an opportunity to pass. And as I was going through that process, I kind of enjoyed it, and I did it all through college. I graduated college, and I decided to stick with it.
Wow. So you finished college.
Yep.
And then you're with the business. So when you originally bought in, you bought into the business, but didn't purchase it straight away, or did you purchase the whole thing?
Purchased it straight away.
Okay.
Yep.
And so how was that for you as a college student with the rigors of, you got 2 years under your belt? That junior year can kind of sometimes be a little, that's kind of the max one, and then your senior, depending on how it goes. Did you find that, and how did you navigate running a business and learning whatever you were learning in college? Was it business that you were studying in college?
I was studying business.
Did that help you?
Running the business helped more than the education. But
that's what typically happens.
Yeah, but the education was great because it gave me all my, concrete foundation in terms of what to do with the business. But I was lost. I started the business, September 11th had happened. So I was kind of thrown into a situation where things were going okay, and then they started to go poorly. So it was really grueling. It was a really tough time in my life, being a new entrepreneur, trying to get through college. It was just hard. I would literally work. I would go to school 3 days a week, and I would work 7 days a week, and there was not a whole lot of time for anything else. So my college experience was a lot different. I still had a great time and hung out with friends and everything, but it was more focused on, I'm going to work until the store's closed, and then I'm going to go hang out with friends, and then I'm going to go back to the store in the morning and make ice cream and then run the store. So it was a very trying time.
That's amazing, the resolve and the resilience. Did you have that? Did you know you had that in you before you started, or was this something that, you're like a military person who, when the op starts, man, mission's on, and you just got to get through it?
I didn't have it in me at that point, and I didn't have a choice. You were kind of pushed against the wall, and it's like, okay, here's the hand you're dealt. Let's go. So I had to learn resilience, but no, I don't feel like I had it at all. I think most entrepreneurs don't quite know what they need until they were put in a very difficult situation like that.
Right.
So that was something that I learned literally overnight. It's like, okay, here you go. Here's where you're at. I remember sitting out at the kitchen table with my mom, and I was like, things are brutal. They're hard. And she's like, well, go dig yourself out.
Wow. Now, what was your support system at that time? If you were looking at, was your mom or your parents, were they part of really helping you go through this? I know when I started my first practice, once I graduated Cairo School, I went and did where I shared space for a year, and then I had an opportunity to buy my first little tiny practice right on Wadsworth and Hamden.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Right where that is. And tiny, 700 square feet. And my mom was my backer, right? She helped me get the money, and then she was my biggest fan, but she wasn't in the office, and, like it was all that. But she was part of my support system along with my family.
Sure.
Did you have that same sort of system?
Exact same. My mom was my support system. My dad was very involved as well. He's a business guy. He loves business. So we still talk business on a weekly basis. But my mom was my backer. She was the one that stepped up and said, okay, let's go for it. And if I had to recommend her to do that again, I would have said, this is crazy. But obviously, looking back at a longer term approach, it was the best decision of my life. And hopefully she's very proud and happy as well.
Yes.
So she still comes in on a regular basis. The
and has
team
some ice
knows
cream?
her. Oh, of course.
Good.
I think everyone comes in to have ice cream.
Yes.
They say they're coming to see me, but at the end of the day, they're coming to get ice cream.
Yeah.
But
Hey, good to see you, Tom. I'll have the super strawberry, please.
Exactly. Yeah, they do that as well. But yeah, she's still in there, does a lot of our banking, and comes in and she lets me rant, or she'll pick my brain about certain things. And my dad does the same thing too. He's very involved mentally with me too.
That's so good. And
yeah,
do you have children?
I have 3 children.
Are any of them old enough to work in the store? And if they do, how do you feel about that as a business owner, teaching your kid work ethic and all that stuff by working in your own store versus not? What are your thoughts there?
Sure. So I married into 2. My wife had 2 children when I married her,
Okay.
a 10 and a 12-year-old. And my oldest son actually worked for the company over summers. Like, he would run our delivery truck, and he actually helped, with all kinds of stuff in the business. So he was involved. I think it's important to let your kids do what they want. So I never would push any of my kids to get into the industry unless they really wanted to. I have a 12-year-old daughter, especially over the last few years in the pandemic. She was around a lot. She did remote school for a long time, and she would do school in one of the offices there.
Wow,
so
at the shop.
Yeah, and she would, when she was like 10 years old, she was answering the phone, and she loved it. Every time the phone rings, she would just get excited to answer the phone. So she's very involved in terms of seeing what goes on. But at the end of the day, she still makes fun of me and says, well, you get to scoop ice cream every day. So she still doesn't quite know.
Yeah. What she doesn't know is, just like when a rock star or a football star, when their kids are younger, they don't know they're a rock star or football star.
Right.
You, my friend, are a rock star.
Well, thank you.
in the make people feel good world. So she's going to see that. But what you got to tell her, I'm an artisan. I'm making these things. What do you mean scooping? No, I make them. Right.
Yes.
A whole different deal.
Yeah.
Do you have a thought process as you guys go into making ice cream? Tell us what it's like. What's the process like of making ice cream? And then I know that when we talked on the phone, you'd said that sometimes you guys will make up flavors that are not there. Walk us through that process, because to me, it's fascinating. All you ever see is ice cream at the end of the road. Right? Pick it out of the store, come get it from your shop. But I know there's a process, and not all processes are created equal.
Correct. Yeah, and our process has evolved over time. Obviously, when I started there, we had a process, and we've fine-tuned it, and we're still working on things to make it better. But we get all of our dairy locally. We actually buy from Royal Crest Dairy. It's like an all-natural, very old-fashioned base that we kind of created with them when we started doing business with them, and they come twice a week. Generally on Mondays when our delivery comes, it was produced on Friday. So, you'll look and it's like 3 days ago, the process was being made.
Wow.
So it's as fresh as it gets. And we're making it every single day at the store. So that's the difference, in my opinion, is how fresh our product is. We don't have a lot of the extra stabilizers and things in our ice cream like you'll get at a grocery store. Obviously, they're shipping it across state lines, and it's sitting in a lot of different freezers, and it's going on trucks, and you're getting it 3 months after it's produced. At Magill's, you're literally coming in and it's being made maybe even the day before. There's days where some people will come in and we'll be out of a flavor, and we'll say, well, we just made it today. It's not quite ready to serve.
Yeah.
And when people come in, we give them free samples of the fresh stuff off the machine, especially our staff. They come back and they're like, hey, can I try that one?
Yes.
But yeah, we start with our base and we add our ingredients to it. We make it all by hand, 10 gallons at a time. So it's literally still by hand. We have a couple ice cream machines. I still make ice cream almost every day because it's by far the best part of the job. Maybe helping customers is the best part, but behind the scenes in terms of what I do on a daily basis, I still love making ice cream.
Yeah. And what do you love about it?
It's satisfaction. The fact that, I love filling inventory. I love when we're low on a flavor to go in and have to crank through, X amount of gallons of ice cream, because I know they're going to a happy place. So I'm like a process person where I enjoy, making something to fulfill something for someone else.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, when you're going through the process, so walk us through it. So you come in and you get the dairy stuff, milk or whatever we're talking about. and then you put it in with some sort of a thickener, or because do you get a base ice cream? Everything starts from a base and then you add the different flavors to a single base, or are there lots of different bases?
Yeah, so our base is just a cream, milk, and sugar base, essentially, with a couple extra ingredients we add after the fact when we get our base.
And then you just like blend it kind of thing?
Yep, we throw it into a big ice cream machine. It
Okay.
makes 10 gallons, so it's not actually big compared to the market, but 10 gallons at a time. We can make about a gallon a minute off this machine.
Wow.
So we'll make one batch of ice cream, and like if it's mint chocolate chip, we'll add like cream to menthe or whatever the flavor would be, and then we'll hand layer chocolate chips and stir in chocolate chips as it comes off the machine, give it like that old-fashioned look and feel. And you said something earlier that I still say every day: we do make our ice cream with love. A lot of the big places, they'll throw everything in the machine and it comes out like perfectly uniform. Part of the fun of homemade ice cream is to have it look a little unique. So people come in and they can see, oh wow, that was made by hand, and there's something to be said about adding like the hand love to the ice cream. It does taste better, and there's no really reason to say that. But when you sit there and you make small batch by hand, it's love. You do put your love into the ice cream.
And what's incredible about this is when I was, I've been to the store many, many, many times, and the number of flavors available that you can pick up. You're not just serving the people like me that come in and grab it and eat it there, or right outside your front door on all the benches with the music going, right? There's a lot of people that are coming in just to grab stuff, but then also you guys on this, we'll call it almost throwback style of making it with love by hand, 10 gallons at a time. You guys are shipping, like you're playing in the big time.
Yeah.
But you're acting small, playing big,
right?
Which is a really unique business combination, because that's what people can connect to, right? They, especially these days, it seems like as people have this social consciousness of where's my money go, what are they doing for the environment, what are they doing for other people? There's a consciousness, and so to have that big time play with small town home feeling, homegrown spirit to it, I think it's a brilliant combination. So it's interesting how you've been able to master that, given that you have one machine.
Right.
It's not like
two machines. Two machines. Yeah, they're identical.
So, explain that. How did you leverage that to get into all this market?
Well, and my wife is kind of the brains behind the operation to a certain degree. She helps me with strategy and marketing, and we've always wanted to keep Magill's to be a local Lakewood homemade ice cream community service shop. That's the most important part of our business. We care about the Lakewood community. I was born and raised in Lakewood, so we really care a lot about that. So that's huge for us to be able to do that. But in terms of, we like to sell to everybody. Obviously, wholesale is a huge part of our business as well. But we still like to have the small town feel.
Yes.
But, we do sell all of our ice cream to wholesale customers all over the state. And that's something we love doing as well, because we can serve their communities as well in a different way.
Do you get feedback outside from?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you get feedback all day long from the people in the store. Do you get feedback of people that are buying it out of a convenience store or a coffee shop?
Yep.
What do they say?
So just last week, we had 2 women came into the store, and they said, we're from out of town, went to Estes Park for the week, and we had the most amazing ice cream up there. And we tried all the ice cream up there, and we just want to keep trying ice cream. All of a sudden, it became like their passion for the trip. And so they went online and were Googling the best ice cream stores in Colorado. Fortunately, we were at the top of that list, and they came all the way from Estes Park on their way to the airport to try our ice cream. And they said, this ice cream's amazing. It tastes just like the ice cream we had in Estes Park. And I said, well, it's because it was. So they were like, oh, wow. They were shocked.
They got a double shot of it.
They did. Yeah, but they were completely satisfied with that.
Yes.
But yeah, so we have a lot of people that say, oh, I had this flavor so-and-so place. And that's where a lot of our flavor ideas come from. Our wholesale accounts are like, we want a flavor like this. Can you make this flavor? And a lot of them are horrible, but a lot of them are excellent.
Yeah.
And that's how we've created a lot of our flavors. You were asking about that as well.
Absolutely.
A lot of our wholesale customers and our retail customers are saying, you should make something like this. So that's really our innovation, is just by listening to our customers.
So if you're innovating like that on the product side, do you make 10 gallons at a time, but you don't know if that 10 gallons is going to be good or not if
Right.
it's a new thing. So can you scale it down and say, oh, we're just going to try this much on this flavor to see if we should move it up in volume, or is that how it works?
No, we can, but we decided to just go for the full batch.
The full batch.
It tastes better when you make it in the 10 gallons.
Oh, it does?
There's a science behind
the ratios.
it. Kind of, yeah, because there's, tons of different ratios, and we could go into deep ice cream talk if you ever want to. But it makes a better product if you make a full batch of 10 gallons at a time. So if we're going to take a shot at a flavor, we're going to either blow 10 gallons of ice cream and have a scoop of it and throw it in the trash, or it's going to be a big hit seller.
What's one of your epic fails that you thought was a great idea or someone else put in, and when you tried it, you're like, yeah,
I mean, there's a ton of them. We have some people that come in and they want to make certain flavors. Like I remember, one of the successes was there was a bar that wanted us to make Guinness ice cream for them. And I'm like, Guinness ice cream, I enjoy having a Guinness, but really with the ice cream.
Yes.
And it took off, and they sold it at all their pubs. And
did you literally put beer in the ice cream?
We did, yeah, just for the flavor, obviously.
Yeah.
And so there's been a bunch of flavors we've tried. Sometimes when we have one of our ice cream makers making ice cream, they'll make a flavor and they'll mess up a recipe, and they'll be like, I totally messed up a recipe. And it's amazing. So we've had a few flavors like a chocolate cinnamon, like they were making chocolate and cinnamon on the same day, and accidentally added cinnamon to the chocolate, and now we have a chocolate cinnamon ice cream. So there's some that have gone well. We had one customer who wanted to make like a smoked peach ice cream, which sounds really interesting.
Interesting.
But you take a spoonful of it, in my opinion, it just tastes like smoke. So
more smoke than peach?
Yeah. So we just decided to just do peach ice cream. But that was
what happened? He orders it. Does he pay for?
They did. Yeah. They bought it and they seemed to like it.
Okay.
They didn't order again.
One round.
So one round, but that was one that I thought was a little out there.
So you guys will do a custom order if someone says, I would like blackberries, blueberries, and bubblegum.
Yeah. I mean, that one we probably would say no to. But a lot of people that order our ice cream cakes can customize flavors like that. And our poor cake decorator comes back to me and she's like, well, I'm making a huckleberry cotton candy cake today. And I'm just like, that sounds terrible. But people order, like, that's a good way to do it, is ordering our cakes, because you can put two different flavors in a cake. And
yes.
But some of the combinations that people come up with are very interesting. Well, so yeah, there's always fails.
I will tell you that I tried when we were there just recently, not this weekend, but the weekend before last. And I had tried one that looked new to me, and I can't remember the name, so you might have to help me if you remember it. But it's a mint, but it's not mint chocolate chip. It had mint like I don't know if it was Oreo, but some kind of cookie in it. And it was unbelievable.
Well, and speaking of that flavor, we made it for St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
We called it Shamrock Cookies and
Shamrock,
mint.
That's what it was.
And it's literally a mint-based ice cream with just chopped Oreos. So it's very basic.
Yes.
So we made 5 tubs of ice cream. Which that's like 2 batches roughly.
Okay.
So we tried it just for St. Patrick's Day. We put it out like a week before, kind of promoted it, and all of a sudden one of my shift leads came back and said, "Are you going to make more cookies and mint?" She's like, "We're out." And I'm like, No, I made 5 tubs. We're fine. I'm not inventorying that ice cream because it's just for us. And I'm digging around our freezer trying to find it, and we ran through 5 tubs in like days.
Yes.
And I said, well, that was just going to make one run, but I'll make one more run. And now it's going to be a staple. We may have to change the name.
Yeah.
But
it was amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. And I've loved the huckleberry. I love that one, and I really enjoy. It's called a
Superman. Yeah.
That was delicious as well. What are the crowd favorites? Or is there anything that just spikes up one or two that just people adore?
Sure. Well, and it's funny because I always tell my wife, Jennifer, when I married her, her favorite flavor was chocolate. All she wanted was chocolate. Every single day she would get chocolate. Finally, I'm like, you got to get outside of your normal here. So finally she's explored. But me personally, I've been locked into Sleepless in Seattle. It's a coffee flavor with chocolate mocha chips, and it's incredible.
It's my wife's favorite and our next door neighbor's favorite.
There you go.
Yep.
Yes, that one's definitely one of our best selling flavors. Salted caramel Oreo is huge. Even the basic ones, cookies and cream, cookie dough, I mean, for the kids, cotton candy, Superman. We have a Blue Moon that tastes like Fruit Loops. I had a customer who came in yesterday. He's like a 55-year-old man with his 2 kids. His kids both got like vanilla and chocolate, and he got cotton candy.
There you go.
And I'm like, is the cotton candy for you? And I hand it to him, and he just immediately starts diving into it like it was a childhood favorite. So,
wow. A business it's made up of many things, and predominantly, if we break it down, there's your product, which in your case is ice cream. But then there's your process on how you do it. And we've talked a little bit about that in, just at a very high level. And then there's your people. And when you put those things together, that's where you create culture and that's where you create magic. I'm interested to go now a little bit into the side of the business side and the culture, because you have a very unique environment there. It's not meant to be modern, contemporary, everything latest and greatest whiz bang. It's meant to be old school. You guys have been in business over 40 years.
Yep.
Right. And so when you go back, it would be akin to me to if anyone watching or listening has ever been to like a Gunther Tootie's or one of those cafes, how there's just it's nice, it's wonderful, but it's meant to be a different era.
Sure.
That's what Magill's feels like to me. And then you have the games on the table, right, that people can play, whether it's Connect 4 or Jenga or whatever, and you see families together. They're not just eating ice cream. They're making memories. They're playing games. And then you have the trivia going up on the screens about little fun facts about everything but ice cream.
Right.
So talk to me about the importance of building a culture, and then we can break that down into the people
Sure.
and the process.
So, it kind of happens on purpose. A lot of new ice cream companies or new ice cream shops open up and they have good ice cream, and you go in there with your family and there's 3 tables to sit at. It's it fills up on a busy afternoon or evening instantly. So one thing we created probably about a decade ago is an environment where people could come be together. Ice cream is just the fun part. It's a reason to get people in the same room. But we have seating for about 75 people. It's
bench seating. It's like there's so many varieties. It's so wild.
It is, and that's on purpose too.
So good.
And it's fun to see, the senior citizens that come in sometimes at 10 a.m. for ice cream. They sit in a different part of the store as the teenagers and the little kids in the family. So we do have different areas for different types of people, and that's purposeful as well. So having that old style fashion is totally on purpose.
Yes.
It's not just hodgepodge together. It's we do it on purpose.
And it's so well done.
Thank you.
You can tell that it's planned out and that it's the culture. Let's move into, so that's how the people get to enjoy it. So you created the space intentionally, super important. What about the people? How do you look for a certain type of person to fill whatever roles that you're looking for at the store? And what do you look for? How do you screen them? How do you know that they're right for Magill's?
So that's my favorite and least favorite part of the job is staffing. And obviously, over the last few years, staffing has been extremely tough.
Yes.
And we're currently in a culture where it's hard to get good people, and people have to settle for, less talent. We haven't had to do that, fortunately, and we're not going to do that. I interview a lot. I enjoy talking to people. I like getting background on people. I enjoy just being social with people. So I interview probably 10 to 15 people per one hire. A lot of places they hire if you walk in the door.
Yes.
We're
the first
looking,
one. Let's go.
Right. We're looking for a specific type of person. And the great thing about the youth of our world today is you can tell almost immediately if they're going to be amazing or not the right fit. And that's something that is really easy to figure out. So yeah, we're definitely looking for very outgoing people that care about Magill's. One of our interviewing questions is, what's your Magill's history? And if they say, oh, I don't know, I've never really been there before, they're probably not the right person, because we have so many people who grew up in our community who have always wanted to work at Magill's. Like we have 14-year-olds that say, I've been wanting to work at Magill's for 14 years.
Wow.
So they're going to be the right person when they're old enough to work there. So yeah, we do a very heavy screening process. We're very careful and delicate who we hire. And the people we hire generally stay with us for a long time.
Is there a good training program too? People might just say, training? What do you mean? The only training they need is forearm exercise training from all that scooping. But it would make sense that there's they're just not necessarily specific scripting, but there's elements that they need to ask every client. There's a way that you go about your business. Is there a training program for these young folks?
Absolutely. We try to hire people that are natural in a customer service environment so they can talk to people, because we're not going to be the script place where you walk in somewhere and, you say the exact same thing every time.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of businesses that you would know, they always say the same thing to you when you walk in the door. We like to go deeper. And if a little girl has new shoes on, we comment on her new shoes. Like yesterday we had 2 kids that they're twins. They share a birthday. And I'm like, well, let's get you birthday cakes and like come back and you can watch me write on the cake. You can tell me what color you want. So we try to, that's the most important part. And we can control the quality of the ice cream because I've been doing it for, 25 years. That part we have nailed down. Making sure our team is treating every single customer great is really important to us, because when people are coming in Magill's, like we were talking about earlier, generally they're doing it for a reason. It's like a special thing for them.
Yes.
And, yesterday I was dealing with all kinds of stress behind the counter because that's all in the background where no one sees it. And I'm the one that has to deal with a broken ... or fixing something, or dealing with a customer who's mad at me for not getting a tub of ice cream they ordered, or whatever the challenge is. Leaky roof, or overpaying a tax payment, or, our payroll didn't process early enough, or all the stresses you deal with in business that just happens. It's part of our world. The computer system is down or something. But yesterday I was dealing with all kinds of challenges, and my shift lead came back and said, we need your help. 2 buses just pulled up, and this is at noon on a Monday, and all of a sudden, or Tuesday, whatever day it was, and I'm like all frustrated that I have to go up and help, and all of a sudden, the minute I walk up front, it's a bus full of special needs adults.
Oh.
And they have been planning this field trip for all week, and they're so excited to be there, and it's busy in the store. We have wholesale customers waiting to pick up their order, and you just have to go into a different mindset and say, they're here, it's special, I want to make every single customer feel special.
Fall in love with the moment.
Exactly. And you have to literally, I tell our team, when you see a line out the door, which happens very regularly around there, just focus on the 4 people in front of you, because you can't help the people back there until they get to the front and make it worth their wait. But it constantly reminds me of how important it is to be in the business, because my headspace changes, as every entrepreneur does, on a daily basis. But getting it back into that headspace of we're not saving the world there, but we're saving people's days, and we're making every customer feel like as important as they want to be treated.
Amen.
So just yesterday we were doing that, and these people were having a hard time even talking through flavors, and just sitting there and smiling with them and just connecting with them in that 30 seconds you have was super important.
And did they stay? Did that group of folks stay? And how was it watching them?
It's incredible.
Do now enjoy what they've gotten, and they go through the process and they order it and they get were their eyes as big as kids, like as big as mine get before I start eating it?
And almost every customer comes in, if their eyes don't get big when they walk in the door, they're just unhappy. If you can't smile at an ice cream store, or Magill's for that matter, you're just an unhappy person. And we'll try to make their day better, and generally it is. But yeah, just watching them interact with each other, and the people that do that on a daily basis that are, there's 4 people in charge of 35 special needs adults. I want to make their day too.
Yes.
They have a very stressful job, and it's definitely an amazing job, and the people that do that job. So we're trying to make their day as well, where we'll take care of them and say, it's your turn. You've helped 35 people get ice cream. What do you want? And they, they're not there for that. They're there to serve. So just kind of going into that headspace of how can I make that person's day better as well is the deeper level, which we try to train our team on.
And how do you go about auditing how the team is doing? Because I've been there when the line is out the door, and they somehow manage to keep their cool, but I can imagine that requires some sort of touch points with them on an ongoing basis. Because if you do that over and over without someone reminding you or about refilling your cup somehow, pretty soon, after a month or 2 or 2 years of that, it can start wearing on you.
For sure.
So how do you guys do an ongoing refresher or training or culture dip or whatever you want to call it?
Sure. So I try to see every employee at least every other week, which sounds like not very often, but I do try to communicate with our team. I care a lot about every member of our team. I mean, like we talked about, I started there when I was 15 years old, so I've been there. I've done what they're doing on a daily basis. And the day goes by so quickly for them. It could be a 5-hour shift, and you literally feel like you're there for a half hour because you're just constantly running. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the day, the customers are so gracious tipping our team that's like an extra incentive. They just smile. That's like the applause that the customer is giving the team member at the end of the day when they get to have gas money for the week, or they get to go, spend money on whatever they need. So that's a huge motivator for them. But in terms of keeping in touch with them, I'm talking to them. I'm looking at the sales from the night before, and I go to bed at like 9:30 at night. So they're still working when I'm in bed, sleeping. And sometimes they'll wake me up and say, hey, we need you for something. But I can't keep up with them in that moment. But a lot of times I'll talk to them about how it went. If I know they had a line out the door for 3 hours, I'll say, you did an amazing job, because they did. And just constantly keeping up with your team is really important. I try not to get overinvested, because if you get overinvested with your team, it becomes emotional and you start making different decisions. So I try to keep a little bit of a balancing act when talking to the team. But I do care about them when they graduate. It's amazing. We have one girl that's coming back to work this summer that we haven't seen in 3 years. And she's graduating college. She's been out of state. And she called me up and said, I would love to come back to Magill's and work for 2 months. And she was amazing. So that happens to us every summer, where we get team members that come back. Like, they'll go through high school with us, they'll go to college, and in the summertime, they'll come back and scoop ice cream.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So now let's switch gears again from the culture side of the business to what you alluded to earlier, where things in any kind of business, just like if someone's watching or listening in any part of our life, something goes wrong. There's stress. This didn't work. My refrigerator broke.
Sure.
Something happens. And, when you don't have a good refrigerator, then your food can go bad,
right.
Or, you break something. How do you deal with stress? What's your stress management strategies and techniques that you use in your business that people might be able to take and use in their lives?
Sure. Well, luckily, I've dealt with 25 years of stress in the business. And for the first 10 years, I didn't know how to handle it. So we would have a problem that would come up. It was so overwhelming because I didn't have the financial capacity to hire a team at that point. So I was doing every single job. I was wearing every hat, from helping the customers to talking to the IRS about an overpaid tax payment, whatever. So there was no safeguard. The fires were always happening. The plumbing would get backed up. The freezer would break. We had to throw away an entire freezer full of ice cream, which that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, that tears your heart out.
It does. And, one thing that I've learned in business is if you keep putting out fires every single day, you're just a firefighter. You can't actually get forward. So a famous quote is kill the arsonist. Find a way to not have fires happening on a daily basis. They'll still come up, but generally it's new fires. So every time you have an issue, you try to learn from that issue and try to make sure it never happens again. So that's my biggest thing as an entrepreneur, is trying to make sure that you're not dealing with the same issue over and over again. So, do maintenance on things. If a freezer's breaking, it's like flying an airplane with one engine. You're going to crash. So if you have 2 engines in every single freezer, if one goes out, you land the plane and you fix the other engine, but one engine's still keeping the ice cream cold. So that problem has been extinguished and it'll never happen again. So if we have a freezer that has one engine running, it's fine. But I'll definitely be on the phone.
Getting the other one fixed.
So learning from your mistakes, I think, is something that people think they do. But at the end of the day, they just take care of the fire, they put it out, and then all of a sudden it happens again 6 months later. So that's one thing that I've been constantly working on, trying to get our processes in order so that I'm not having to put out those same fires every single day.
That's a really great piece of advice. And that goes into, in business, super clear, super translatable. In personal life, to me, that breaks down to what are your habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you sleeping?
Right.
How are you eating? A little ice cream aside, it's all
sure,
good.
Absolutely.
How is your exercise?
Mm-hmm.
How is your mental and your stress management patterns? Like, do you have something before you need it?
Right.
Because if you're waiting for your first heart attack to start exercising, that's both engines going out.
Absolutely.
And now you got a problem.
Right.
So I see what you just said is super transferable. And I think that anyone listening can benefit from that. Let's talk a little bit about how the business goes in directions when you're setting goals. Because again, another transferable concept, like for example, right now is the business in a state of, we just want to maintain and keep serving and doing what we're doing. We've mastered the universe that we want to master, and now it's a matter of just fine tuning and keeping things where they are? Or is the goal on a next level, open a second store, move outside regionally? What does it look like for Magill's? And
Sure. Well, and another foundational piece that I'd like to share as well is routine. Most people that have a 40-hour-a-week job, their routines are the same, and they get so bored of their routine. But from an entrepreneurial perspective, I think routines are the most important thing. So every day of mine, I try to make look very much the same. So you always start the day at the same time, you go to bed at the same time, you eat at the same times, you talk to the team at the same time. So that's one huge thing that I've learned in the last 10 years is developing a routine personally and with the business is something that I think is really important. So, and that does help with goal setting. So right now, the last few years have been very interesting because we had huge goals, pre-pandemic, and we still have huge goals now. We had huge goals through the pandemic. Jennifer and my wife and I are very goal-oriented. If you're not sure where the target is, you'll never hit it. So we have tons of goals. Right now, we have opened a second store in our history. In Littleton, right by our home, and we were open for about 3.5 years, and it didn't go like we were hoping. We weren't in a stage of the business that we wanted to be at. It taught us everything. So it was the greatest investment we ever made. Whenever you open something and lose money and learn from it, it's hard to be like, oh, that was a good investment, but it actually taught us about our business. We love Lakewood. We love the community. Even more so now. I think growing up there, you appreciate, everything about your childhood. But the last few years, our customers are amazing. They were the ones that pulled us through. So our goal is to keep serving our community for the most part. That's the number one goal. Continue to grow the store, but not necessarily for like profit reasons. More, we're at a stage in our life where we want to continue to give back. So right now our goal is obviously we want to sell more ice cream. And then this past winter we've had, it was very cold.
Yes.
There's stressful points in that.
Yes.
I mean, from a business perspective, it's very stressful when it's hot and you can't keep ice cream in stock, which happens for a good chunk of the year. It's the same stress when it's -10 and snowing for an entire week straight, and you're just hoping that customers start coming back in, because it could be scary to not have any sales for a while. So there's different stresses there. So our goal is to, make sure we're just keep doing what we're doing right now. We're not looking for crazy growth. We've had opportunities come up and we've kind of shied away from them. But we love our life. We love what we're doing. People give back a lot when you give them stuff. So just, people are so generous to us that we want to continue to give our generosity, do things for the community, and just really care about our team and our customers. That's kind of our goal right now, to be honest with you.
Speaking of generosity and giving back, part of what you guys talk about on your website, and you and I have talked about it, is the way that you do that. And a big part of your process is through fundraisers. Can you walk us through how you give back, how you structure, how you choose who to give back to, and just what that looks like? Because giving back is it's important at the personal level and at the business level. And in some faiths and religions, they talk about God blessing those who give, and you can't outgive God is one tenet. And in other ways, it's sowing and reaping, another type of the religious philosophy. And in others, it's karma, like whatever you want to say.
For sure.
How do you guys go about that? What's your thought process in giving?
It's easy. We love giving. It's the best thing you can do with your time and your money. And we have a product that 99% of people want and enjoy. So giving away ice cream it's the best part. Obviously, we can't give it to everybody, or else we won't be in business.
Or you won't be giving any more.
No, we'll be done.
Business.
Yep, I'll be doing something different. But with fundraising and with schools, a lot of times we'll get an email from somebody, or someone will walk in the store and say, "Hey, I've been a customer for X amount of years. We're trying to raise money for whatever." I mean, it can be tragic things that happen. It can be uniforms for their football team. It can be a church wanting to go on a missions trip. We love supporting organizations like that. But we kind of go to the next level in terms of when people come in and say, well, we really want to check. We're like, well, that's going to be hard for us to do because then we have to give checks to everybody. So we'll say, well, let's do a fundraiser for you where you can actually raise money. So, one of our best fundraisers is in-store fundraisers. Generally, it's to the elementary schools, back to school night or something like that, where they'll buy ice cream and sell it, or we'll do some donations. Obviously, we do a lot of donations. But just that's a way of giving back to the community, because ice cream is such a great thing to give people, because it's not just ice cream. It's about bringing people together, and we do a lot of stuff like that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I have one more question for you. I could talk about this a lot. I'm just getting warmed up,
Yeah.
and we're a good piece in. But here's what I want to ask you. Obviously, ice cream aside, the life and business lessons you've shared with us aside, dealing with stress aside, is there one piece of advice that you've been given or that you've learned along the way that has become fundamental in how you and your wife Jennifer and how you guys do what you do, that you would want to pass on to me and to our audience so that we can now incorporate that into the fabric of our lives?
A lot of things come to mind. I guess the most important thing is just be content. That's the thing that I've practiced my whole life. I was taught it as a kid. I was very independent growing up, being content with what you have. Our culture has taught us to overspend, to want more. We are so content with our lives and our business that we get happiness in so many ways. I think people are so caught up in social status and things that make them feel better. But I think just contentment in general, that's just the first thing that came to my mind. I have about 20 things I could talk to you about, but that's just the one thing that came to my mind. We're content with our team, with our staff, and being content doesn't mean settling. It means, not wanting more, not wanting too many things. So that's kind of one thing that I like to practice in my daily life, is just being content.
Yeah. And, I think where you really hit home with me on that point is contentment, satisfaction, happiness. Those can all be kind of similes where they're like each other, but they can be very different. And it depends on how we individually define that, because in your statement of contentment, for sure. But what you didn't say is, just in our last topic, you wanted to grow and sell more ice cream. Mm-hmm. So you can be content where you are while you're pursuing your dream. Absolutely. Without letting the outside distractions take you off mission, the things that you have to have that aren't really have-to-haves at all. Right. They're just things that are shiny objects. And being able to navigate that, I think, is so brilliant, man. You've done a great job. I'm telling you, you bring joy. I know you know this, but I'm just telling you from one on the other side of that counter, those young folks that are serving make a difference. You make a difference. The shop makes a difference. And it's been wonderful to talk with you. If anybody wanted to reach out, learn more about Magill's, or learn more about how you started a business or anything, what would they do to just kind of connect with Magill's and with you?
Sure. Well, I tell everybody who is about to open an ice cream store, because we have a lot of wholesale accounts, I always say, come into the store. If you want to do it over the phone, you're probably not the right person for our brand. Come in, ask for me. I'm there a lot. I still love going to work. I'm there pretty much every day. I don't work as many hours as I used to, because I like being around my kids and my family and my dogs. Yes. But coming in and just having a conversation. Jennifer and I love giving our unsolicited free advice, which is worth what you pay. But we've been through a lot of ups and downs, and we've learned from a lot of things. We're still learning. We're still going through that process. But I love talking to people in any situation in their life. And, you learn a lot from a business. You learn a lot from just dealing with people, from having customers come in, from talking to your team and your staff on a daily basis. You can always learn and educate yourselves. And, we're at a point right now where we love helping people because they've given us everything. Our community helped us survive the pandemic. So we feel a debt to every customer that walks in the door to give them every single thing that they need in that moment. So that's something that we still think about on a daily basis.
Let me tell you one way you guys do that that's unique and amazing. So my wife and I go in, and again, we also try to be guardians of our own bodies and our own health. And so obviously, you can't eat ice cream for every meal, even though we tried it as therapy.
Right.
But one thing your team is always so great at, unsolicited love from me to them, is I'll say I want a single scoop, but can you divide that up into 2 flavors? Sure. And they do it. And it makes the experience so good, because instead of having to buy 2 scoops, and the money's not the issue,
sure,
right? But I don't need that much of a great thing becomes not a great thing for me. So to be able to try 2 different flavors in one, it's a small thing, but it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. So that kind of customer service, man, I'm telling you, it's amazing.
You. Well, and it's something that we put effort into as well. Like everything we do there, it's not just random. We're very strategic. And when you come in and get ice cream, you're not getting a little scoop of ice cream.
No.
Nobody wants a little scoop of ice cream. You go to a lot of places and you're like, that's it for $4.50. I get that. So we are generous in that way as well.
Great value.
Because people don't want to come in and get shortchanged. So we don't sell very many triple scoops. We don't sell as many double scoops.
People can't handle it.
It's a lot, but we don't want, and that's another thing that's important to us is anyone can go spend money on ice cream. For a lot of struggling families, it's hard to go on a cruise with your family or take them to a tropical destination, but you can still come get ice cream.
Yes.
And we've tried, and that's something that we constantly are told is, well, you probably need to raise your prices. We have raised our prices, obviously, in the last couple of years because we've had no choice, but we still want the value to be there for our customers. And we would rather serve 100 more customers on a daily basis and make a tiny bit less on the end just to have that many more people happy. So that, just saying it out loud makes me happy that we're able to do that for people that keep us in business every day.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to still keep you in business. This has been a wonderful time. My wife, Shauna, and I, again, we adore your place and what you've created and your vision and your dream. You're a type of Disneyland to us in our own way. And the chance to now hear it from you, the business owner, and how it's gone and developed the story has been amazing. So, Tom, thank you for joining me. I hope that I get to see you at the shop. I won't bug you. I promise. When we come in, I won't go, hey, get Tom out here. He and I are tight. We're good friends, you know. But this has been wonderful, and I really, really wish you continued success. And you always have a friend here at Ramos Law with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I hope everyone watching or listening enjoyed the show. Again, if you got as much out of this as I did, please share it. Please send it around, because it's all about making a difference. And not only is Tom making a difference in his life, but you can make a difference too. Look for ways to make a difference. And if there's a type of guest you want, let us know, and we'll find one, and we'll have another great show. So, Tom, thanks. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.